So my name is Wayne.
I'm Tasha.
I'm Rhiannon.
I'm Byrne.
I'm Bea.
I'm Talitha.
And we are open. So we're a youth-led charity.
We do quite a few things such as peer education, peer mentoring, peer research, our youth cafe and our board, which is made up of young people aged 16 to 30.
We are the Alcohol and Other Drugs Project. Our goals are to lower the stigma surrounding alcohol and other drugs around Shetland and raise awareness for fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
We do this through drop-in sessions, social media, posters, and of course this podcast. So today we're going to be starting off with answering some questions about the drug and alcohol culture in Shetland.
So question 1. What is your opinion or thoughts on the drug and alcohol culture currently in Shetland?
Culture?
That's a word.
The whole thing of Shetland.
For the alcohol culture side of it, I feel like it's too normalised in a sense. Like every event you go to, people are drinking and it's just normal to get carry out on the weekend. But the second someone says, oh yeah, I'm going home on the weekend to smoke a joint, it's very stigmatised and it's a bad thing, even though weed's safer.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like everyone's like, oh, like, why are you not coming out for a drink this weekend? But if you actually have a problem and you want to go get the help for it, people are like, oh, it's not a problem, everyone drinks.
I feel like it's really pushed out to adults and teens, well, young people, because there's not much else to do in Shetland. There's not, like there is down south, like bowling or mini golfing. There's genuinely only pubs and drinking to do up here. But I think the moment you're seen as indulging too much into the alcohol and drugs in Shetland, then it's immediately stigmatized.
How do you mean by that?
What do you mean?
Like you said that it's immediately stigmatized for people to be
Yeah.
too in depth there. What do you mean?
Like just drinking too much by their perspective. So say if you went out the weekend before and you drank Friday, Saturday, and then a little bit on Sunday because went too late into the night/morning, you're still technically drinking on a Sunday. And then you did that again the weekend after that, regardless of if there's been 5 days prior to that, that would be seen as too much in some cases. So people would be like, you need to calm it down. And I think that's incredibly stigmatized.
I think that it's definitely an issue that needs attention from everything that we've been saying. And it's so tabooed. Because it's so tabooed, it's overlooked. And I think a part of that it's easier to just say something's like wrong than to actually try and see why you feel that way, why it's a problem, and get to the root causes of things. Because it's easier to ignore it because otherwise you feel obligated to address it and do something. And yeah, it's definitely a damaging culture. Even though alcohol is generally more accepted, I think drugs is very accessible here as well, and it does come alongside social nights out as well. It's very prevalent, even though it is more frowned upon, which I don't agree with either. I don't agree with it being frowned upon because that's also harmful.
Yeah, I think on one of your other points that you made, it being like just put to the side and being like, that's wrong, and then moving on.
Yeah.
I think that is another massive thing. It's done far too easily, especially up here with such a tight-knit community. You just be like, you need to fix that, but don't actually offer any help to fix that. I think that needs to be seen to as well.
Yeah. So kind of on that topic of stigma, how does the stigma around drugs and alcohol affect young people specifically?
So I think, like the lack of things to do up here and peer pressure is a massive thing that plays into that. It's well, there's nothing for young people to do, so what else are they going to do on like Friday, Saturday night? They're going to sit, they're going to drink with their friends. People are going to get like weed, coke, whatever, because it's so easily accessible here that like they're going to share it with their friends. People are going to feel pressured to do that. It's even if they don't want to, it's to fit in with their friends and stuff. Yeah.
most of my pints are pretty much the same as yours. Peer pressure, massive thing, but there's also that FOMO of like not wanting to be boring and miss out on an experience with your friends, so they might do drugs and not feel 100% wanting to do it. But then again, there's fuck all to do on a Friday night up here, so what else can they do?
I think as well, like there's a lot of, as we point out, social pressure, but also pressure from things like school, and some of us experience poverty, some of us experience abuse, and when you're going through this in your childhood and your adolescence, it's so difficult to process, and a lot of us can try and fill this void that is then created with substances, and that can progress into adulthood as well, but a lot of it starts at this sort of age, you're around it a bit more often to socialise, and that's another void, that need to socialise, and you're filling that by taking these substances too, and eventually you can get to a point where you feel it's hard to feel good without these substances, and by stigmatising these people, that makes it so much worse and so much harder to see your true potential. And I think that if you're not in a position where you're addicted to a substance or feel the need to take it, then you are in a place of privilege, and you should use that to empower others rather than bring them down.
It's interesting you saying about that kind of filling a void. That's what drugs or alcohol is used for, to a point. There was a guy on, I saw on YouTube, he did a TED talk basically looking at why, or trying to theorize why people took drugs. And he did this through an experiment with rats, and he looked at rat park. Try and find the right thing and put it in the rat, but the basics of it was, when they put a rat in a cage with a normal bottle of water and a bottle of water that was laced with cocaine or amphetamines, one of them, then the rat, like almost all the time, went to the laced water and spent his time drinking that. But what the scientists went away and like decided was, okay, well, obviously he's going to take that because there's nothing in the cage to entertain him. There's no company, there's no toys, there's nothing, no exercise, nothing. So they made Rat Park, where he had tons of different other rats to play with, and they had all the different kind of entertainment a rat could possibly need. And the majority of the time, they would never go to the laced water. They would always go to the normal water. Occasionally, they might go to the laced water, but that would be very almost recreational to that point. So it goes to that same point of, if there's nothing to fill a void of something, then that's what you're going to fill it with. You're going to fill it with negative sources.
I liked also when you pointed out that, being from a place of privilege, and the fact that we should be using that to empower other people. Is there any kind of examples of how you would like to see that going forward if you had the ability to change it and have people do that? How would that look like for you?
I think that obviously a place of privilege is a intersectional thing where, we all have our oppression and we all have things that make us less oppressed. And yeah, by not being addicted, we are less oppressed in that way.
Yeah.
And I would definitely like to see that amongst the community, but also in our public bodies. For example, in the Children's Services and Education, Victoria, I think it's called, they have a part that says about early intervention and prevention for people's health. And underneath that, their goals and what they're doing to work towards achieving that is only about physical exercise. Physical exercise is very important, but health goes way beyond that. And when we're talking about early prevention and intervention, I don't know about you guys, the first thing that comes into my head is drugs, as well as other things like additional support needs and etc. And physical health, very important, but drugs, that's massive, especially in Shetland. And we spoke about how these things get overlooked and ignored, and I was very disappointed to see that in this program for young people, it wasn't included in that. So I think we can see that our services are also not entirely doing the best things, and it's as open a charity you've run, you've led, taken it upon ourselves to do that. But whereas the initiatives within the council bodies, that's what we need to see a bit more of.
Yeah.
In terms of the prevention and early intervention work that especially the education does, part of what they do is through the PSC lessons and the curriculum there. Although it's stretched already as it is, then one of the, I guess, arguments in their favour is that there's too much to try to squeeze into the curriculum to have everything that could potentially be done. And what they do have in there includes our own drugs and alcohol workshops, which are always given to, and it doesn't just come from us. There should also be an introduction from the school themselves, plus there's the Dogs Against Drugs workers who go into the schools to also educate about drugs as well. So it's a multi kind of targeted approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most of my points have really been covered, but going back to like young people getting help when they do start to feel like they're beginning to become addicted to something and using it a lot. And it can be quite difficult because especially if you're under 18, because most services are 18 plus. But then you also have the whole, like, if you were to go to, like, some people might go to their parents are like, oh, well, you're too young to be doing that, so, like, it'll wear off. Or if you're over 18, between, like, 18 and 30, then you get, oh, well, you're in your party years, so it's normal. So, yeah.
So, what defines a drug?
Something that affects the body physically but offers no nutritional value.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Can you define that more?
No. So like water isn't a drug, but it offers nutritional value. But say weed, that has no nutritional value and it affects your body physically because it's a downer and a psychedelic, hallucinogenic, has no nutritional value.
So what is the difference between substance use and addiction?
So substance use is experimental or done with moderation, and it's like things like the occasional drink or the occasional joint or painkiller. Because James has just taken a painkiller. But it's not concerning if you know how to safeguard yourself from the risks. Addiction is not always visible, and I think it's more when you have that craving for it rather than just something you do from time to time. And some people can experience withdrawals when they don't fulfill their cravings. The cravings are really intense, and I think this is clearly displayed when people, you can see that sometimes their relationships or their work life, etc., starts to break down a bit because of the substance use or addiction. And this shows like how strong these cravings are when they still choose to take that substance. It's very overpowering.
Yeah, so addiction, I would say, is when you start craving it. So I do agree with you. But also when you start like changing your day plans to take whatever drug it is and start moving things around. And then the substance use is just using it, whether it be on the occasion or even just using it but not needing to use it, not craving it, if that makes sense.
Recreational.
Yeah, recreational use.
Yeah, it's like needing to know where like
Huh?
it's needing to know where like the next lot of whatever, like where it's coming from. It's the panic when you run out. It's needing to have it like near you, with you all the time, changing your whole day around it. It's to fit it in there, craving it, all of that. Yeah.
The difference for me is dependency. That's all I have written down, which is exactly all of your points. It's just dependency.
So is there a difference for you between addiction and dependency, or is it synonymous? The same thing?
Substance use and addiction is dependency.
No, dependency and addiction.
Yeah, well, when you're addicted, you're dependent on it.
Yes.
Your entire being is dependent on that drug or that substance.
Yeah.
That's why, like, that is really the main difference for me between it just being a recreational fun thing and it being you're dependent on it.
Yeah.
It's dependency.
And you guys all spoke about, the substance use being recreational, whether that's like, once a week, once a fortnight, whatever it may look like for an individual. Is there a point of, let's say, every weekend, every Friday and Saturday night, an individual goes out and takes coke every single weekend without fail?
Well, if you need it to have fun, then you're dependent on it. You're dependent on that to have fun. But if
What happens if their body isn't dependent on it, but, well, I'm going to go on the night out, so I'm going to take it?
I
Is
think
that still
that's more
recreational
of a,
substance use, or would you then class that as if it's every Friday and Saturday night without fail? Every time they go out, they'll take that.
I don't think it's how often they take it. In my mind, it's just if what you said at the beginning there, if I'm going out, so I might as well just do it. I don't think that's a dependency. I think that's a choice. That's, yeah, okay, let's do it. It's not, I need to do it. So,
Yeah. There's a lot, like English, like a habitual thought instead of, so it's more psychological addiction. Is that the word? Psychological? Yeah, addiction than it is physical addiction, which is still addiction, but you've gotten into that routine of taking it every weekend.
That's something I was going to touch on as well. Like I've had several conversations over the past week alone about things that are not physically addictive, and then people therefore think if it's not physically addictive, it can't be addictive. Like weed is a really big one. It always comes up in these conversations. If you can't be physically addicted to weed, I've had so many people say, no, you can't be addicted to it. It's just like you're choosing to do it and you can get off it anytime you want. Do you agree with that mentality, or do you think it's somewhat different?
No, because people can depend on it for sleeping, for eating, physical pain, mental health. Like, I do see weed more as a medicine than a drug. I mean, obviously drugs are medicine, but I see it as a medical sort of thing. But again, dependency, if you need it to eat and sleep and etc., it's not going to be easy to just stop at all.
So what about the recreational stuff?
No,
Like if you're recreationally using it, you're not using it for any medicinal purpose, you just have done it for ages and can't stop.
Even then, like if you're doing it for long enough and you're at a point where you can't stop, it will impact your ability to eat and sleep. Because weed makes it that whole lot more easier that when you come off of it, you do experience difficulty.
Yeah.
Okay. So in all that you guys have spoken about, like things that are a choice. So do you say that addiction is solely a choice, or do you think that there are other factors that play a role?
Other factors definitely play a role into it. Like, I'm trying to think how to word this, sorry.
Let's start off with the easy one. Do you think addiction is a choice?
No.
Okay. So what factors play into it?
Well, the whole being like when what? when you dream. So like people might be using it like
recreationally.
Other factors play a role. For the people who use it
Skip the word.
Regularly.
Regularly.
On nights out.
Like from the shop, on nights out.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, ready?
Regularly.
Ready?
Sorry.
That's okay. Do you want the question again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is addiction solely a choice, or do other factors play a role?
Other factors definitely play a role. For people who use it on like nights out and that, it can become a lot more frequent without them even realizing it. So they'll think, oh yeah, I'll just, for example, like the Friday and Saturday night, I'll just take it Friday, Saturday, and then that turns into Sunday as well, and that slowly dips into Monday, Tuesday, and before you know it, you're using it almost every day. But it's also that way where when you come to stop it, that's when you realize, oh wait, can I swear? Yeah. Oh well, shit. Like now I realize, like I have a dependency on it, and that I'm craving it, and I need it. So when you go to stop, you're very much like, how did I even get into this mess?
Yeah. I think initially it is a choice. Obviously, being addicted isn't a choice, but initially taking that drug or that substance for the first time is a choice. But back to my previous point, you then become dependent on it, and that in itself is the illness. So I don't think once you become dependent, that's when you're addicted and you're in the illness.
Yeah, completely agree. No dependency is a choice. You never look at any other dependency and say, yeah, that's like someone chose to do. And one thing that's really stuck with me is when Paul told me that, if they had been told all those years ago when they were quite young and didn't have a lot of information and knowledge and had no idea where taking a drug would lead them, they never would have made that choice. They never would have taken it that first time if they could go back in time. Doesn't sound like a choice whatsoever. And again, he was young and lacked education, and that's something that can lead to it. Like, that's a systematic failure, as well as cuts in welfare, homelessness, limited social opportunities, criminalisation, the justice system, lack of mental health provisions. We can probably all go on and on about the systemic injustices that can cause a dependency, and I don't think that can all be narrowed down to choice.
Yeah. So what about things like your genetics? Do you think that they play a role in whether you can fall down into the path of addiction or not? Some of you say no, some of you say yeah.
I say kind of.
Okay.
But in a sense where it's more not your mental genetics is your physical genetics, but more like your mentality. So if you've like grown up around people with addiction or whatnot, or you've been told like, oh, be careful, our family, like addiction runs in our family, and you automatically think, oh well, it'll be easier for me to get addicted to something. And not easy, that's the wrong word. But you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Highly likely. Yeah, highly likely. So then you get into that mentality, and you might not even be at the stage of addiction yet, but you think you are because you're like, oh well, I've had this a couple of times. Addiction runs in my family. I'm addicted to it. Yeah. So then you keep on doing it, and before you know, you are actually addicted, but you haven't. You thought that happened a while ago.
Yeah.
It's like you over-relate in a way.
Yeah. What about your environment?
I think environment does play into it a little bit. But again, you can go one of two ways with addiction. So speaking from experience, I don't engage an awful lot in alcohol. I just don't drink often. I'll have maybe a glass every now and then when everyone else is drinking and I feel like I want to, but I don't really drink at all. But I could have gone the other way and become an alcoholic myself. So I think environment, you can go one of two ways. Just really depends.
I was going to ask you something, I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, no, because that's why I was speaking to you the other day, asking you if the addiction gene is a real thing. Like, is it actually a real thing? Because everyone's like, no, we've got the addiction gene, runs my family. Is that real?
I don't know about the science behind it, but it's definitely something we could look into. I think nature nurture plays a massive part in every part of human life. So a certain point of it could be based in your genes or your genetic code, but another part of it's how you're raised or how you're born.
It might be, product of your environment situation, whether if addiction runs in your family, it might not be that. Again, I'm saying this when I don't know the genetics, like the science behind the genetics is what I mean. But there is obviously a high link between those who are raised around addicts who become addicts themselves. In that saying that, there is also people who were raised by addicts who go the complete opposite direction and don't take a drug and don't drink and don't smoke a fag for the fear that they will turn into the people they're raised in. So again, I don't know the science behind it, but I would be more towards the nature nurture and your environment. But again, that's something that can absolutely be researched.
I mean, in saying that, I obviously went the non-addiction to substances route, but I do have a really addictive personality.
Yeah, me too.
So in some ways, I didn't really go the opposite way.
Yeah. I feel like there's a middle ground with it as well. We don't necessarily either become an addict or you go the completely opposite way, but you're just you're there. Like you might be addicted to something's just not very extremely, or you'll still go out on nights out on the weekend. that you won't avoid the thing completely, but you also won't
Overindulge.
overindulge in
Maybe
it.
it's just be more aware.
Yeah.
Again, depending on your environment, your nature, your situation, you know, if you're raised around addicts, you're more likely to understand the devastation it can cause.
Yeah.
And the harm that comes with being in, you know, either in a home with an addict or being in addiction yourself. Maybe it's not the genetics, maybe it's just being, as you say, you know, going the opposite way because you're more aware.
Yeah.
It maybe it's just lack of, as you said, a lack of education around it.
Yeah. So, what do you think of the modern drug trend of polydrug use, such as mixing like a vodka Red Bull or cocaine and alcohol?
Well, see, that can be dangerous, right? Because you never know what it's actually going to do, like inside your body. Because like cocaethylene, that's the thing. That's when you mix in coke and alcohol. That's like pretty bad. Yeah, but I don't know why we're laughing. Like that's pretty not great. Yeah, you never know what it's going to do. In your body.
I think it's dangerous just mixing like a downer and an upper together. That'll fuck your heart right up. Not to mention everything else inside your body. But also like having knowledge on that. Like there's that triangle thing that I haven't seen yet that everyone keeps banging on about.
Triangle.
Yeah.
The drug triangle?
Yeah, that. No.
Oh, you mean the car?
Yeah. It's like a pyramid.
The one that
No.
No?
No.
It's a square.
It's a table.
Let's look at
Is it a table?
a rectangle.
Oh, but
And you're like, yes, I was like, let's go for
Well, the unknown shape of the thing.
It's a chart, but it's also an app that you can get substantially.
I thought it was a triangle.
Most things are.
Well, that's what I was in.
I'm not.
But knowing like what you can take with other things is just like the knowledge on that would make that less dangerous in itself, but I still think it is dangerous.
That's a good point. Like it's good to be able to identify the risk of mixing things, but then again, that chart applies to if the drug is clean. And realistically, not much of what's in the illegal market is going to be exactly what they say it is. But that's for another question. But yeah, going back to the caffeine, it does last longer in the body. That's not a good thing because it's like the high is the same amount of time, but the damage that it does to like your liver and the body it's not good and it stays in there for longer. So yeah, very poisonous for you. I've got some symptoms here that can lead to, which include seizures, liver damage, heart disease, immune system damage, and increases the risk of overdose. It actually increases the risk of immediate death 18 to 25 times higher than just taking cocaine by itself. So that's huge.
Yeah. So just to give a little bit of information to everyone listening, for that chart that everyone's talking about is a tripset chart looking at drugs combinations and making sure people know that if you're looking at the pure chemical, and if you mix the wrong ones, they're going to have either like synergistic effects, which means that you're going to have two drugs that give, rather than having an equal amount of both, they're going to have a more powerful, potentially more dangerous effect. Or it could have like a caution attached to it. So, for example, something like if someone was taking amphetamines and weed, then they could end up having like a really bad time. Or if it was something like you're saying with stimulants and depressants, then the confusion of the body there trying to speed up, slow down at the same time, there's lots of problems with it. But you're absolutely right with that. If all of this is predicated on the idea that you're working with 100% pure chemicals and you are actually getting what you're getting rather than buying mixed cut stuff. Because not one thing on the street is 100% pure.
Yeah.
So just kind of keeping on the trend of the polydrug use, do you guys think that the polydrug use is common among young people specifically?
No. I think it's been around longer than I've been alive.
So do you think that the young people, today's young people, I mean, are still commonly using that drug trend? Do you think that it's...
I think everybody is commonly using it because, like Wayne mentioned previously, vodka, Red Bull. Everyone I know has either tried that or regularly drinks that on a night out. So I think it's still very much common, but it's not a new thing, and it's not just strictly among young people.
Yeah.
Do you guys all agree?
Yeah. There's also stuff with like prescription drugs, like you were saying amphetamines earlier. Like even if you'd taken like your prescription amphetamines and gone for a night out without even thinking twice about it, that's still like probably drug use, or even just nicotine and having alcohol at the same time. So drug use.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of young people like nowadays vape and smoke and also like drink on the weekends. So yeah, very common.
Just talking about the vodka levels, as you said, be so common among not just young people, just across the board of people who drink. Do you think it's a lack of care or a lack of education that causes people to continue to mix these two together, knowing that it's harmful to the whole body? I mean,
I don't think people clock that vodka Red Bull is polydrug use, because to me that's just two drinks. Absolutely, that tastes nice. Let's mix them together. But I don't think people are clocking that caffeine, gives you energy, speeds your heart up. All of that. I don't think people are actually clocking the effects of caffeine.
and there's a lack of education.
I do, yeah.
Okay.
I also wouldn't say that Red Bull tastes good at all. So
No.
just to kind of round off the conversation a little bit, do you have any harm reduction methods or advice that you think would be really good for young people to know, or anyone in the community actually to know?
I've spoken about the charts, and when we were saying about how we don't know if it's 100% that job, getting testing kits, if that's accessible and you're able to do that, so you could test a drug beforehand, or taking a little bit of it, seeing how it affects you, and then taking the full dose. I mean, overall, I would obviously advise, try to have fun and connect and go out and socialize without taking risky substances, because that is possible, is an option for a lot of people. And if you can make that choice, and make it, and look out for other people as well, and ourselves, be informed and educate others.
Yeah, I would say just don't care about what other people think. If you don't want to drink, don't drink. If you don't want to engage in poly use, don't. Because I feel like a lot of it as well, like more danger comes from like peer pressure and caring what other people think about you. Like, oh, they might not invite me again if I don't down this bottle of vodka or something. But in reality, it's not how it happens. Just let them. If they want to drink, they can drink. If you don't.
Yeah, right. My advice, right? If you're gonna do like a drug or something for the first time, be with someone else. Take like a tiny bit first. See how it affects you and all that. Yeah, don't do that by yourself, like for the first time, whatever. Right. And also, if it's getting to be too much for you, reach out to someone. Be like, hey, I think I might have a problem. Like, it's never a bad thing. You might feel like you're going to get judged for it, but don't feel like that, because realistically, nobody's actually going to judge you. That's pretty cool for reaching out.
Okay. My advice is just know your limits. Know who your safe people are, and always have a sober person with you if you're trying something new, or even a higher dose than you're used to. Trust your gut with things, and real friends won't pressure you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that to end with. Real friends won't pressure you, because that is so true.
So true.
And sometimes having to take yourself away from a friend group that don't make you safe, it's also not a bad thing.
It's not easy because you get lonely for a little bit, but it's definitely worth it. Absolutely, your health.
Fantastic. Cool. Yeah. Excellent way to round off the question.
That was good.
So look out for our next podcast coming through, and hopefully we'll have more organisations joining the community podcast soon. Bye.
Bye.